I'm only the man that I am today because of the woman that she is and the time that she's invested in me. I was not an emotionally mature person. Like I've always been intelligent. I'll give myself that. But like, as far as emotional maturity, I atrophied my personal development and growth with drugs for a long time. And I don't want to pass off the buck or make it seem like I'm blaming, but the person who molested me when I was 6 years old, I know that there was a part of me that couldn't process that and that I stopped developing when that happened to me as a child as well.
I don't think that's passing off the buck. That is one of those, I mean, the psychologically, that is something that will stunt because your brain will have its defense mechanisms to actually, hey, okay, I have to block this. The id will then separate it and then either black it out and then you're also not trusting adults. You're going to have that, and that's a lifelong problem. When Gary was on, it was his second grade teacher, and it was, again, an adult in a role of power and leadership, or a teacher. And when that happens, that's going to f you up for a long time. And a lot of the times you're not going to have money or that embarrassment and then getting help, the proper help, and talking about it especially as a dude, it's hard to talk about shit, especially that you're like,
especially
I don't
in the 80s, bro.
Dude,
like we've come a long way,
Oh,
and that's part of why I talk about it so avidly. And like, I don't want to come on the internet in front of millions of people and say I was molested by a man when I was 6 years old. That's terrifying, dog. Like that's demasculating to a certain extent. And what happened to me when I was a kid was not my fault as a kid. When I became an adult, I carried that around like a security blanket to keep me safe from having a personal accountability for a long time. And I own that. That was me. I did that. It's when you cross the threshold of being an adult that you have to take accountability for it. But my development stopped. So she literally was dealing with somebody who, in certain aspects, emotionally, as far as emotional maturity, was either a 6-year-old or, super underdeveloped, bro. I was all up. And she is smart enough and strong enough and patient enough to have worked with me and to have seen who I am beyond that and to have helped me find my footing. And I'd never been in a healthy relationship before in my life. Neither had she. So we struggled to find what that dynamic is. And we still, to this day, we have not had a single fight. We have never had one fight. We've
disagreements, probably.
We've had disagreements. There's been stuff we've disagreed upon, but like no one's ever raised their voice. There's never been any type of like, and it's just because I respect her so much, bro. Like we respect each other on such a intrinsic level. She sees the work that I do. Just getting back to how important I think though it is to open those conversations, especially for, I'm not taking anything away for female victims, especially female child victims, but for boys who were molested by men. So when I do public speaking, I always include that. Standing in front of hundreds of men and telling them what happened to me when I was 6 years old is not fun. It's not like you get more used to it. But the first time I did it was at an AA meeting, and there was like 46 strangers there. All dudes. It was an all dudes meeting. And I said that, but afterwards 3 dudes came up to me and said, that happened to me and I've never talked about it. And seeing you talk about it made me feel like I could tell at least you. I feel safe telling you. So if we're creating a safe space for more men or, to come out and talk about it, eventually that's going to lead to a culture where when it happens to boys, they're going to know that there's safe people to go and talk to. And that means that it's not going to continue, that people are going to get busted, and that's going to lead to less kids having that happen to them.
They won't have
which
that
is
shame.
Why I think it's so important that we have these up hard conversations that social media honestly likes to censor.
Oh, yeah.
They like to shadow ban us for it and shit like that. You can't use certain words. I'm not going to go through all the words and get this video all up, but
we do like it sucks because even like suicide with veterans is an issue, blah blah blah, but we can't talk about it because then that word flags.
Word flags, and then they send you a little email that says do not reply, but if you need help please reach out to somebody, and they take your video down.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, how can we talk about this? How can we discuss this if we're not even allowed to say the words?
Yeah.
And we have to use a sewer slide or PDF file. Like, it's weird
Dr.
shit.
Seussing the language sucks, bro. You
Dude.
know what I'm saying? Like, you can use kindergarten commando, you can use diaper sniffer, you can use playground extraction specialist, you can use rock spider, you can use, which is Australian. By the way, shout out to my homies down under. Y'all are tight. Do you know what that stems from? Rock spider? Rock spiders are spiders in Australia that crawl into tight crevices. Ugh, bro. When I found that out, my Australian crowd had been saying rock spider forever, and I'm like, where does that come? That doesn't make any sense to me. And somebody told me, and my stomach hurt. I was like, oh god, you guys are hardcore. Nonce is a big thing in the UK and Canada.
No shit.
Goof is really big in Canada. They call goofs there.
No shit.
Squid goof is an even worse. So we have to use terminology to work around it instead of saying like you are a baby rapist. It's not assaulting a young adult or anything. They want you to use this super soft language. No, you a baby brutally.
Yeah.
There's stories that I think we should be talking about. Like in Oregon, the last thing that our last governor, God, before we got Kotex, don't let me tangent on how bad the leadership in Oregon is, but the last governor before she left commuted the death sentences of every single inmate on death row. And one of them I actually knew from the streets. We had a drug deal that went bad because he's a piece of shit. And I actually kind of put hands on the dude. And then he ended up doing horrific things to an infant. Horrific, like burning with a blowtorch after, molesting and all this shit. And he was on death row and he was to be executed. And this governor on her way out the door is like, yeah, we'll let him live the rest of that infant they found in a ditch, homie. Dead. But you're going to let him live?
See, that's wild.
And that's that push to soften things. Mm-hmm. We have to empathize and sympathize with people who've done crimes no, we don't, bro.
No.
Take them off the planet. Don't give them 40 years worth of appeals. I like my buddy Sheriff Grady Judd. I don't know if you know who he is from Polk County, Florida.
Yes.
He's the one who's always talking about shoot him a lot. We shot him so many times you could read the Sunday paper through him.
Yep.
My buddy, he's like, I like the electric chair. I'd like to make an electric bench. We can fit more of them on there and get it done quicker. I'm with that shit, bro. Most of the people in the prison community on social media are super anti-death penalty, and I am 100% the other direction because I have seen real evil, bro. I've seen people that are real evil, and I know that you have too.
People don't understand that exists out there, and that's the issue. We live in this beautiful thing in America, and people still aren't thankful for that. They think we have it bad. We're a third world country, and you're like, oh no, we have a wonderful, even the bad areas still significantly better than a true third world country where life has zero meaning. Like here, it's still rare where somebody will walk up and kill you for your cell phone. That is a rare thing. But in some countries, oh, you have a cell phone, pal. Okay, thank you. That's mine now. And then walk away. That is evil. There is no baby. That's the shit or anyone that does that crime. What is the statistic? Like, there's no recovering. That is, they're not going to get better. It doesn't go away. Like, that is just the chance. I don't know the number of repeat offenders. I'm assuming it's extremely high once you've done it one time.
Yeah, so I believe it's like 60% get caught within the first 5 years. Those are kids that are getting, and the average, from what they're able to track, has at least 12 victims throughout their lifetime. That's 12 kids given a life sentence. The first time we catch them, it's no longer a risk that we should be willing to take.
No.
What do we do if a dog mauls a child? Sorry. And I like dogs better than humans, bro.
Yeah.
I like dogs better than humans. But if a dog bites a kid's face off, they put the dog down.
Yep.
But you've got these dudes out here who can get bricked for an infant, and they do terrible things to literal infants, toddlers, 6-year-olds, 13-year-olds. And you're going to the more liberal states, they're getting probation, bro.
And again, those kids are, I mean,
Scarred
in general,
for life.
scarred for life, and recovering from it you, Gary, are the exception, and that's what sucks because it is a rare thing to pull through that. Gary, that's his turning point in life. He is like drug addict. Everything stemmed from that moment in his life. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can reflect, and I've forget or not forgiven. I've made peace with it, and now his own accountability on staying sober, how he stays sober, and where he is. He's very thankful, but it goes back to that moment and why he's so against a lot of same thing, like anything with or how they're treated or how to get the kiddos getting help and how fast it should happen. And then the school system, dear God, does he hate the school system because
Oh, yeah.
he's like, you're telling me that we've like churches or the Catholic Church or Hollywood, these places where kids are prevalent, but where they are the most prevalent in schools, there's not going to be a giant, massive problem. And as we've seen in Buffalo, it's, oh, just cover that shit up.
Bro, I'm going to tell you, schools and churches are some of the worst. First off, it's a target rich environment.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And secondly, it's an environment where, especially in churches, bro, because they're, and like, I think that, and this isn't an affront to anybody who's religious, and I'm not saying just one particular church or religion. Churches are heavily founded on the idea and principle of forgiveness and that God can cleanse you and that God can make you new again. And I'm sorry, like I love God. I have a personal relationship with God. I start every single day asking God to guide me, to speak through me, to put my voice to the right ears, that he keeps me on his path, not my own, because I know I'll end up in a ditch if I'm acting on my own. And I end every night thanking him for that throughout the day. But I'm just going to tell you, you cannot rehabilitate like it, and it's just not a thing. Somebody who is attracted to a child, Eli, you like women, correct?
Yes.
Is there anything that I can say to you to convince you that you want a big purple pipe in your throat?
No.
No. There's nothing you can say to a that's going to convince them that they don't want to do horrific things that are going to ruin a child. And I don't even think that it's entirely, I believe that it's more based in things like power and control and stripping away the innocence from someone.
Yep.
Those are the things that I think are the key elements, because it's been proven that you can castrate somebody, physically castrate somebody. They'll use their fingers or their mouth or objects to do the same type of brutality to children. So that tells me that this isn't like just a thing. You've chopped somebody's balls off. They're not getting bricked up anymore.
No.
They don't have testosterone running through their system. This isn't a urge. It's an urge that's something much more disgusting and sick. And so churches and schools are now at the point where it's become so rampant and prevalent that they're getting SAM insurance, which is assault and molestation insurance.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Holy
a
shit.
billion-dollar industry in this country. Insurance, to what they do is they go in, say, a teacher or a youth pastor molests a kid, and the parents are like, yo, what the f-? And they immediately are like, hold on, we've got something for this. And the insurance company will pay them out to sign an NDA, and parents are getting paid for their kids getting dog. And they'll like shuffle the youth pastor, like they'll be like, we'll get rid of him and you get, $100,000 settlement out of this. And they're paying every month for this insurance in case that shit happens. But that youth pastor, it never goes on his record. Nope. Teacher, it never goes on their record. So what happens is they go to another church or another school and they do the same ass shit.